Welcome to the Sober Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Brickhouse. Our topic today, in honor of Suicide Prevention Month, which is September, and we are kicking it off with our Soberlebrity guest today, Alison Woods. And our topic today is how I survived suicide. And she has been sober for 18 months. And is here to share her story of survival and perseverance. It's an absolute miracle that Allie is alive and here to share some of her story with us. We do have a trigger warning in case you're sensitive to self-harm or suicide. So to our listeners that may be triggered, please tune out. But if you have suicidal ideation or have thoughts of harming yourself and need help, text or call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Thank you for joining us on Sober Podcast, Allie, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Please tell our listeners just a little bit about the events that led up to your suicide attempt and how alcohol was involved, or if it was.
It was very much involved. I was extremely intoxicated the night of my attempt. But what was leading up to that event was I was working as a 911 dispatcher at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how familiar you are with that line of work, but it's very...
I'm not. In other words, knowing, obviously I know what it is, but I don't know anyone nor have I ever worked in it. So maybe tell our listeners a little bit about that.
I'd love to. It's a great job. It's extremely rewarding. It can be, but there are dark sides to it, just as anything in the law enforcement sector. It's just a very dark and depressing world for the majority. Like, you have rays of sunshine that pop through, but people don't call 911 when they're having a good day.
Right.
It was really depressing not being able to help. It's almost like you're limited, as if we're limited now through the screen.
Yeah.
I can't reach out and help you. I can only listen and respond. And that was something that was very hard for me, because I'm a very hands-on, like to help, hate when I cannot help. And so that took a toll on me that I hadn't really realized until afterwards and being able to reflect. And it made me feel kind of worthless and helpless. I'd also gone through a really bad marriage and divorce. I was 31 at the time, divorced.
Yeah.
Didn't have a boyfriend. The love of my life and I had just broken up. And I really just felt like I had no purpose in the world.
And you were hopeless, right?
Yes, very much so.
And you said you were drinking heavily at the time.
Oh, yes.
Like alcohol, or
that night on December 14th, 2021, I had finished about an entire bottle of Fireball liquor. And then I was working on a 15 rack of Miller Lite that I was almost done with. So I had a very high tolerance, but I mean, no one can drink that much without being obliterated, pretty much.
Right. And what happened immediately after the attempt? And to our listeners, sometimes some folks, in talking about suicide attempt stories, feel like you should refrain from talking about the actual method that somebody used. But I think in the case of Ali's story, it's crucial to talk about the rest of the story, to say how she tried to kill herself. So go ahead, Ali.
Okay, it was a 9mm pistol.
Hmm.
And I'm familiar with guns. My dad was in police work for 30 years, so pretty much my whole life. So I had always been familiar with guns. It was a, yeah, 9 millimeter Glock.
And what happened after your suicide attempt? Did you uh, wake up immediately? What happened? What was the aftermath?
I never lost consciousness right then.
Hmm.
I was so confused and obviously very I don't know the exact word, but I wasn't all there because
Right.
of the blood loss. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But because of the effects of the gunshot wound,
Sure.
it it caused me to become very almost swimmy in my head. But I never passed out for quite a while until I got into the ambulance. But I had texted my dad because
Hmm.
I knew I was going to do it. I had known for hours. And I texted my dad at 10:30 p.m. and I said, I need help. And then I proceeded to attempt it on my own life.
Hmm.
And then I remember my head crashed and hit my coffee table with I couldn't feel anything. I felt no
Yeah.
pain. But my head crashed into the coffee table. And I wasn't able to move until my parents got there a short time later.
Hmm.
And Uh, and then my mom and dad were both cradling me on and off. And I don't remember my mom doing so, but that's what she tells me. My dad was cradling me and just screaming, Allie, why would you do this? Why would you do this? Over and over. And then my mom, to my recollection, was behind me, just saying, that's my daughter, over and over. And I it haunts me to this day. My husband always talks about his nightmares, and I tell him he's lucky that they happen while he's asleep, because my nightmares exist when I'm awake.
Wow. What harrowing, traumatic event for everybody that must have been. And what has the what was the recovery process from the injuries you encountered like?
Whew, I'm still recovering, to be honest. It was a year and a half ago, and
Huh?
how you're seeing me now is a huge improvement, I will say, thank God. But I
You look
spent
fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. That's so kind. Um, I spent about, I think it was 27 days. I spent Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, my 32nd birthday, all in the hospital. But there was a certain point when I was in the hospital during that recovery where I decided that I'm alive and that means something and I'm going to make my life worthwhile. And this past year and a half has not been easy. It has been full of turmoil and brokenheartedness and gut wrenching news that my surgeries did not take,
Hmm.
or that I have to have another surgery and another one. It's almost like I don't really see an end in sight, but I do know in my heart that the end is in sight, even though I can't see it. So that gives me hope.
Hope is and it's something that you obviously didn't have before, right? I mean, I've
Oh,
been there too, and I I've shared this before on the podcast, but I'm also a suicide attempt survivor, 2 time, and and both times I was inebriated, and I also think that the for me the amounts of alcohol, not just that I was drinking at the time, but that had been in my system for on a daily basis, led to the depression.
yes,
Thought that, and it I don't know, would you say that was true of you?
100% agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed, and I've read a book since, so I'm not sure if I can say it on air, but I've read a book since that when I was reading it and then looking back on my years active alcoholism, I was able to see, like, I feel like I'm reading a book about myself.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It,
you can say it. What book was that?
oh, it's called This Naked Mind, I believe, by Annie Grace.
Okay.
It's fabulous. It's very scientific, so it can be a bit dull if that's really not your.
A little dry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for some, but I love science, so I nerd out over stuff like that. And it's just so amazing the effects that alcohol has on your brain and how it does that depression.
Yeah.
There was one line in the book that went something like, "It takes alcohol takes your problems and amplifies them," and that is so 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 true.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And, that's something that I realized after the fact, because at the end of my drinking, all my problems had were on the same level, which was, up here. So it was the chair that I felt like it was a mistake in my living room that I chose was as bad as getting fired from a job. They were
Oh my
all
gosh, yes.
they were all on the same high alert level,
Oh, yes,
amplified.
yes. So relatable.
So when you were in the midst of recovering from this life altering event, did you immediately decide to be sober, or was there a clear moment when you chose sobriety?
You know what's funny? This is a good peek into the mind of an alcoholic.
Hmm.
The first day that I woke up, when my mom came to visit me, I could not speak because I had a trach. I've
Yeah.
had a trach twice,
Hmm.
not fun, but I had to write out everything I was saying because I could not speak with a trach. So I had written out in a journal my new drinking plan that I was only going to drink on Monday, Wednesday. I don't know exactly. It was some stupid plan that I had where I was going to show my self control, quote unquote, that I could moderate
Or
my,
control. Hmm.
and I couldn't. It was a bold faced lie. That's what my alcohol did to me. It made me a liar.
Yeah.
I lied. I lied about things that weren't even worth lying about. It's so silly now looking back.
Right.
But back to your question, I'm sorry, but
Oh no, yeah, that's so you did that, and then how did that eventually lead to sobriety?
it did. I decided before I left the hospital that I had to make a choice. I could either drink and go back to my old ways,
Yeah.
and I was okay with my old ways, or I could make a change. I could start living for me. Now, I somehow got blessed to be alive, sitting here, just like you. We're
Yes.
both so very blessed. And given this opportunity, do I want to throw it in the fire, or do I want to make it something spectacular, something that could change lives? That is what keeps me going, is that the messages I get from people I don't even know that tell me that I'm making a difference. It honestly, I'm I guess I'm kind of an empath. I truly feel it in my heart when people say such kind things. It feels good, and that's what I want other people to feel.
That's
So
great.
that's what keeps me going.
Wonderful. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but
Okay.
be back with us. We'll be back in just a few seconds, so stick with us.
Hi, I'm Sonia, the founder of Everbloom. We help you change your relationship with alcohol through connection and conversation. We provide small group meetings where you can share your story and get the encouragement and support you need to achieve your goals. Whatever your goals are, we're a judgment-free space. You can find us at joineverbloom.com, BLUME, and try us out with a free meeting.
And we're back talking to Allie, and discussing alcoholism and its effects on suicidal ideation and behavior. Has your suicide attempt affected relationships with your family or friends?
Yes. Yes, it has. Do you mean me towards them, or how they feel towards me, or both?
Well, I guess perhaps how has it changed your relationships with your family and friends now that you're recovering?
I think that my sobriety has taught me that if you put some effort into cultivating relationships, that you will reap the rewards from it. I think that my relationship with my husband, who was my boyfriend's, ex-boyfriend, I guess, at the time, and my parents, it's just so much better. Life in general, my relationship with God, my relationship with strangers, even, is everything is better. Including relationships are better than ever. I also think it's given me an opportunity to be more understanding of others.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's a good change. And are you is there any program that you follow or to stay sober, or you go to meetings or in therapy or anything like that?
I don't go to any meetings. I just try to hold myself accountable every day. I do have a sober app that I do like a pledge every single day. I'm up to like 6 right now. I'm so excited. And what else? I do go to therapy. I do go to therapy once every week. It's helped me immensely get control of my emotions and help through sobriety.
Great. Have the, and earlier you were talking about the recovery from the attempt. Is you've had to have several operations and it continues to be a long road. Is it harder to do that sober, or is it actually better to do it sober?
I'd say I would say it's probably easier if I really think about it. It's harder in the aspect that I can't numb my if I'm having a bad day. I don't have anywhere to go. Well, I do, but before, sobriety was very daunting because it felt like, well, where am I going to turn when I'm having a rough day? How am I going to let off some steam? But I just do that now by reading a book, hanging out with my dog and my husband, going outside, appreciating the beautiful surroundings, and I find joy in other ways now. You just but yeah, easier to heal because now alcohol is not poisoning my body, and my organs are able to function. My brain functions better. Overall, it's great.
Excellent. What is the best lesson you've learned in sobriety, and how has it helped you?
The best lesson, I would say, is to always hold yourself accountable. And it doesn't just go for alcohol, it goes in all aspects of life. If you're having a rough day and you say something that you don't mean, I feel that people should be okay with apologizing about that. And I have done so many things that I could be ashamed of. So many things. I could write you a book about the things that I'm ashamed of that I've done. But I choose not to dwell on that because that's not who I am anymore. You can choose to keep living your life in your comfort zone, or you can take one step outside, it's not that hard, and just try to change your life. And in turn, you will change other people's lives too.
Oh, that's a great lesson. And and I'm so happy that you are continuing to get better and heal through all this, both physically and sounds like emotionally too. And I wish you the best.
Thank
And
you, Jamie. I'm so happy you're here too. I just want to say that. I'm just
oh,
happy
thank
you're
you.
alive because you're a good human.
Thank you. And this is a great way to kick off Suicide Prevention Month, September. To all our listeners, thank you for your continued support. Visit us on soberpodcast.com and all places where you find major podcasts to leave us a review and sign up for our mailing list. You'll also find the contact information in the show notes for our guest, Ali. I'm your host, Jamie Brickhouse. You can find me on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram every day, where I tell a true story in high heels at Jamie Brickhouse. Signing out from Sober Podcast. Tune in for another show next week. If you have suicidal ideation, having thoughts of harming yourself and need help, text or call Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. That's 988. Or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. Signing off, and tune in next week for a new show.